We are live.
All right. Welcome back, fellow TFFL owners, to your weekly TFFL webcast. It is Wednesday, October 6th, 2021. Welcome to October. We are looking back, of course, now at week 4 and looking ahead already to week 5 TFFL action. Probably the smallest panel we've had, but we expect Berto to join us relatively shortly. And maybe the small it will remedy a problem we had last week where I heard from our viewership that maybe we dragged on a little too long talking about kickers or about the Tom Brady trade. There were a few topics that and
you gotta move things along is what you're saying.
We can get a little windy. It's us. Yeah.
And we were perhaps extra loopy last week, but I know we're also there this week. So
compared to this,
I don't know what you're talking about.
So we got 3 of us, and maybe that'll help move things along a little bit better. So week 4 headlines for you real quick. Lizards still undefeated, 3-0-1 now, and part of the story here is going over 100 points in week 4, 101 points for the Lizards. Related to that, the Senators losing big again. And by losing big, I don't mean that they're necessarily getting blown out, because they're actually scoring points. But they are just, I think it's now 95 points a game getting scored against. And unfortunate for the Senators, they are 1-3, I think, to start the season. And very well, could have won all 4 of those maybe.
Yeah, by the way, I think that's a topic of discussion right there. Just schedules, trends, luck, year to year, when you look at those things. I can remember many years past people talk about. Anyway, I think it's a topic of discussion right there.
Okay, duly noted. Mongols are defending champions. The other side of this coin from the Lizards, they are our one team without a win, 0-4 to start the season. We will talk a little bit more about that. Injury news, the biggest news coming out of week 4, David Montgomery lost for, I think 4 to 5 weeks at least for the Sponge Fishermen. DJ Chark, for what it's worth, gone for the season for the K-Wheels. You've got plenty of receiver depth. He really was not a huge factor for you. So let's do our quick intros here, and then we'll get talking. Our commissioner, Rich, king and ruler of the Lizards, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you, Stick. Good to see you, Phil. Small crew, mighty minds.
Give us 30 seconds. Let's not take a lot of time, but you were at the Tampa Bay New England game. Great seats. Paint the scene for us.
Yeah, my good friend who I've been going to games with for years, he has season tickets, and those are his seats. And I'm number 1 on his list because I always say yes right away, and we have a great time. And so over the summer, he asked me if he said, I got my tickets, 2 games. He said, I was thinking Tampa and Dallas. I go, in.
Yep.
That was it. And we showed up. The scene was great pregame. Just to keep it brief, we go to this spot where we park, and the guy has a bar attached to the back of his house. But, been there for 30 years. The thing has Patriots that have come by. Gronk's been in there. It's a scene. And we have an in with this guy. We park there. When you park there, you get access to the bar, and everything's free. And they're just doing shots before the game. It's like being at Fagan's and having a great time. So that's the tailgate. And you can barbecue outside, and then you walk to the game, which is not a far walk. And the game itself, you got in there, you could feel the electricity packed. I wouldn't be lying if I didn't say I wasn't nervous about the whole COVID sort of scene. But I'll tell you, people were great. I was surprised in the stadium, just people passing each other without masks. Like, I put on my mask when I left my seat and went in. And there was a number of other people that were, but a lot less than you would have expected when they were in the crowds like that. In any case, knock on wood, I think I stayed safe. The game itself was fantastic. Everyone was expecting a blowout, and that's what was the talk before the game. Patriot fans almost being like, succumbing to the fact. But the weather, I think, played a role. And it turned out to be an exciting game. My seats were awesome. Drew Brees was right there for a little bit to watch breaking the record, which went to Mike Evans. That pass that broke the record. And the game itself was exciting. The rain really wasn't bothersome because it was warm, and as long as you were dressed right, it was an exciting game to watch. Came down to the end. Everyone stayed to the end. The crowd was just electric. When the game started, and I don't think everyone saw this on TV. When they came in, they were all cheering Brady, and there was actually a chant in the stadium. Yelling Brady's name, Brady, Brady, and when they came on the field, though, they let them know that we're rooting against you now. But it was a great game. Good time.
And I said this to Hank earlier today. I thought the people who picked New England in the loser pool, at home,
sweat. They had
loser pool, we're getting a little too cute.
Oh, I was watching the field goals right in front of me at the end. I was just going loser pool in my mind. I was like, this is it right here. It's on the line. Make that field goal.
Good. I'm glad you got to be there for that. So you get to see.
It was exciting that I had the loser pool on the line while I was watching that game at the end.
Nice.
I'm drinking Widow Jane tonight. I don't have much to report Commissioner Week. We're in week 4, and things are swimming.
All right. Well, let me introduce
our. We're happy to be undefeated.
Yep. Our IT directors, our CEO, the K Wheels, Hank.
Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here. Nothing exciting to report.
So let's keep moving along. Let's go to our next segment here. We're going to hold off on TFFL trivia until Berto arrives. Hank, TFFL standings, and I think there's a really compelling story to tell this week.
Well, there might be. I'm just gonna, I'll just see what it can be here. All right, here are the standings through week 4. All right, so we talked about our Lizards being our lone remaining undefeated team, 3-0-1. These next 3 teams here at 3-1, the Ampac, the K Wheels, and the Giant Killers. Well, they're all at 3-1 and all in the same division. That's something. And then we got the Aliens and the Boba Fats. So let's remember those top 6 teams that we just talked about there. And then we go on to the 2-2 Beavers and Hams, followed by the 1-2-1 Sponge, the 1-3 Devils and Sens, and then the winless Mongols, which we mentioned before. But what I want everybody to notice is that these top 6 teams here, we're just going to put a line like right about here. All of these guys have what in common? They all play in the Northern Conference is what the answer is. And the North just swept the South for a week. And I'm sure it's happened in the past the other way, but it kind of feels nice to see the Northern dominance of the league this past week. And
NoCo.
Let's keep it going.
Go NoCo.
Yes.
Your division, looks scary to play in right now.
Yeah.
I feel like as the Aliens, it's tough, trying to overtake the Lizards right now. But I couldn't imagine looking around your division and having to beat the K Wheels and beat the Ampac. And the Giant Killers have rebuilt that team. They've got a strong team too, with their quarterbacks playing well. 3 teams at 3-1. Right now, if the season ended today, would have 3 playoff teams.
We would, and we'll see how it goes. A long way to go. We all got to play each other again. We'll see. Injuries, of course, are going to play a major role in how things go out, and hopefully they're not my guys, but we'll see.
Rich, Commissioner's Corner. You mentioned already. Not a lot of updates. We're humming along smoothly. Nothing else.
We're now settled into the season. We're settled into the season. I think everything that's needed to be communicated has been communicated. People know when FA and priority pick stuff is going on. We can do some innovative stuff. I welcome that. The only 2 things I'd say, I wouldn't mind somebody volunteering to update that trade tracker thing. I think people would be interested in that being updated if somebody has the time to do it.
I thought you did.
Responsibility. It's really not hard.
Kramer.
It's not hard. You can match up the dates with the trades very easy in the keeper, the central doc. Anyway, it's in there. Matching it up is not easy. I just never kept track of the actual trades in the thing. But if you ever want to know who is traded for what, you could tell on the site under.
I found that hard to do. but we can discuss having a better. I feel like at one point we had a running list of all of them. And
there is. It was just
Right.
hidden in the spreadsheet. I never saw it when Terry
Mhm.
passed it to
Yeah.
me, so I never kept that field updated.
I believe
Black
Kramer volunteered for that role. At
I'd
throughout
love
the
for
weekend.
Kramer to take that on.
Did he really?
People I can see doing
Thought
it somewhere between Kramer and Ralph. He did that analysis, was fantastic.
yeah.
So,
Fantastic.
I think he has the capacity to do it quickly.
I'd be curious.
I
I
mean,
want to see Kramer step in and do that.
yeah.
That would be something.
That would be something.
That'd be
Kramer,
out of
you
character.
out there, Krames? We're thinking of you, brother.
Yes.
All right, so let's get talking here. I've got a few topics. I'll try to hold off on a couple of them where Berto might better contribute.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the big thing that's starting to take shape is even in a longer season. We have 14 regular season weeks this year. Even then, we're getting into the heart of the things. This is now when TFFL owners literally actually make their money. We saw the Melvin Gordon trade last week. Ralph's data revealed, there's Berto.
Howdy.
Perfect timing, Berto.
Perfect timing. We're just getting going roundtable wise.
All righty.
Let me really kind of start over because I was just starting to babble for 10 seconds, Berto. Just saying, this is clearly, we're now heading into week 5 of a 14-week regular season. This, really over the next 4 to, let's call it 6 weeks probably is really when TFFL owners make their money with trades, with, savvy free agent signings. Feels like a lot of players out there right now are banged up, injured. We've got bye weeks coming up. I can look around at some very good teams on this panel, in fact, and look at your depth and wonder who the heck you're going to be starting at running back in some of the weeks ahead, maybe even in week 5, and we're not even to the bye weeks yet. So we saw last week, I want to shout out to the Boba Fats. They put in a free agent signing for Cordero Patterson, who promptly put up, I think, 24 points, difference-making points in a victory. As I mentioned, the Aliens, of course, did trade Melvin Gordon. And I think, again, with all the depth issues out there, you're going to have to be active, not just with free agency, because you can't use up all those picks too soon this year. There are going to have to be some trades to fill lineups over the weeks ahead. You guys, again, are some of the most banged up teams in some spots. Tell me what you're starting to think about you're going to have to make some moves over the next month.
Yeah, the Cordero Patterson one, man, missed that one. I was looking at it a week or two before that, and I was like, I don't know, just a flash in the pan here. But man, it's he's getting the ball, and I think that's going to continue the way that looks. But your other part of your question about what are we thinking about? Yeah, I mean, you're starting to feel some things out a little bit, and are there trades available to make, and who is a likely team that would make such a trade? The Mongols are 0-4, so I think they're kind of out there for possibilities, but some other teams are, I think, as well. You start. Maybe you don't execute something this week, but you're starting to talk a little bit, little chatter out there.
I have received 3 other offers in addition to the Melvin Gordon trade already executed. 3 proactive offers, people reaching out to me. I think people are looking around and are going to be aggressive. Going to have to be aggressive, I think, to fill some roster spots and separate from the pack. Hank, you're in a tough spot, I think, at running back.
It could be. We'll see. It depends how long Christian McCaffrey's out, because Chuba Hubbard right now is somebody I can legitimately start. And I'm not, because he's not one of my top 3 guys. I also have Kyle Pitts, who I'm hoping is going to start developing into somebody who I can start at running back as the bye weeks come. But look, I'm not unhappy right now with how my 3 guys are doing at Henry, Barkley, and Antonio Gibson. Very happy so far. So I hope they stay healthy, and I hope I'm able to start them when they don't have bye weeks. And between Hubbard and Gibson or Hubbard and Pitts, I may need another one, but for now, I'm okay with that.
Here's the other thing, and I do have an offer or two out there for sure. But here's the other thing you start thinking about: like, do I make a smaller move now for depth, which isn't a bad play, and I'm thinking about that, or is it a bigger move later? A higher caliber player, possibly, let's say later for more. So that is part of the dilemma that people are in. I kind of look at my team and I'm like, I feel okay with my depth because I got 4 good running backs who are, relatively healthy. And, you got a tight end. If you got a good tight end, you always have options. But I don't feel like I have to make a move. But, there is that dilemma between sooner or later, smaller now, because no one's probably going to make like a big move right now, but they might trim some, somebody that, that they can get rid of versus a more of a stud on their team. Or do you wait? And I think later is when you can probably get a higher caliber player than you can right now.
Sure.
That makes sense, but I think that as Stick mentioned, these next few weeks are when it's people are going to be deciding: am I going to be good enough to get there, or am I in the middle, or do I suck? And I think as that starts to happen and teams start to look at their realities, there's going to be buyers and sellers. It's coming.
There's higher caliber players because there's more players in the pot.
Exactly, that you can pull from.
I think a big inflection point coming is week 7. We talked about this on draft weekend a little bit. So many teams are on buys that week. And you can look around, and I think I'm one of those teams where maybe I've got 3 running backs right now who I know I'll be able to play. And if one of them gets banged up in the meantime, I've got to go get a body. Part of the issue here is go look at the list of free agents at running back. There's maybe 2 guys who are going to get touches, a few touches. There's just not a lot of options. So I think some trades may be forced coming up in a couple weeks. A lot of guys banged up right now. Rich, what are you thinking?
I agree that you're always looking for how to improve your roster. So if that comes via trade or via free agency, you got to be strategic on how you're using. And like you'd said earlier, but I really think it's something you're got to be always in. Like I from week 1 until now, yes, you're happy with your team in week 1, but you're always looking at it and saying, where can I get better? So I do think you're going to see some trades coming up. There's definitely some depth on my own team that I feel good about my team today. I feel like the depth is actually there to put in any position, but 1 or 2 things happen and you're stuck on a bye week, which would be no fun. You might see a couple of forced trades from that perspective because what you're looking at out there on the waiver is you're spot on.
Yeah.
You can't be promised that you're going to get something out of the guy you're picking up.
Which again, kudos to the Fats for going out and getting a guy in Cordero. We'll see if Cordero Patterson can keep this up. He's not going to obviously get 3 touchdowns a week.
It's hard to buy. I mean, good for Cordero Patterson. It's lovely that he's finally finding his role. But that guy's been in the league for 6-7 years now, and it's like he's always gonna be, and he always is. Yes, he's a utility weapon. Whatever. I'm glad he's having his moment in the sun. I don't trust him.
Yeah, for the record, I did put in for him. Rich, I don't know how many other people did.
Quite a few.
Okay, and I think the Fats used a priority pick to get him. And plugged him right into their lineup, and it paid off.
It did. That was a big win.
I think he's going to stick around.
At least for 1 week. I mean, a guy's put up 15 and then 24 over 4 weeks, and his other weeks weren't shabby. He put up 3 and 6. That's pretty solid.
He's not going to get 20 carries and probably will never catch 10 passes in a game, but he's going to get.
Like Berto said, a couple of weeks back, he probably noticed he put up 15 points and said, well, maybe, and didn't really think and passed on it. And then, Yeah,
I was looking at him a couple weeks ago, and I just didn't pull the trigger. And then I didn't even bother this week because I knew I wasn't going to get him. It was too late. I didn't even bother putting that in. But I think he's going to stick around. I do.
Yeah. The other thing, Stick, is
For this
that
year.
what's that?
For this year, I think
Yeah,
they
for this year.
found a niche for this year.
Well, he's in a good situation there. They need
Yeah.
more offensive weapons in Atlanta, and certainly he could do it all.
Well, I think to Hank's chagrin, I guess he's kind of taken away some of those touchdowns you think would go to Kyle Pitts. Yeah.
That's right. Well, but on the other hand, I think it does then have them drawing up a bunch of, let's call them not gimmicky, but let's call them different sorts of plays where an athletic guy like Kyle Pitts might become another weapon in those chess moves.
Yeah.
I hope.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? It's never, and I've said this before the webcast, you want more good weapons on your team because it just helps.
That's
it
exactly
all
right.
depends on the coaching. If the coaching is good enough to get, and this is a frustration right now with the Eagles, like the play calling and responding to you guys' email. Sirianni, they don't look like they know what they're doing to the point where the Eagles fans are chanting run the ball, right? Because they're not running the ball
at all.
But, so hopefully for Atlanta and Pitts, they'll figure out how to, that Patterson should free things up for the other players. And
I hope
Ridley's not lighting it up either, and he's a really good player, but they're going to figure that out, you would think. And I think Patterson will only help that situation.
Yeah, actually, he's probably taken a little, but I think he's also helped Mike Davis. He's on my bench. He's been on my bench for a couple of weeks, but he's actually produced very well in both of those weeks, which is surprising. Now, the other thing to just consider there is what we were pointing out before. The waiver wire is getting drained, and that's going to force the trades.
For sure.
No doubt about it. I used 2 early, and to me, that was strategic because I thought it was going to get drained pretty quick. And, we'll see if the guys I picked up in J.J. Taylor and then what's his name? Le'Veon Bell. And either of those could be
I
very.
like that one.
Which one, Bell?
Yeah.
Well, that was a total flyer when he got signed.
Yeah.
Just to see what happens. You never know.
Yeah.
He went up to the roster. He played this past week.
Tyson Williams, first-round draft pick now.
First rounder.
Practice squad.
Yeah, anyway, I spent one there. Call it what you will. But I'm actually happy with J.J. Taylor.
What's that, Berto?
I said you love bringing that one up.
Yes, I did.
Yep.
We'll maybe find a way to talk about Zach Moss later on too.
He's getting there.
So we time permitting, we will talk about the 0-4 Mongols, but I wanted to first let's talk about some good news going on around the league. Specifically, a couple. We've already talked a little bit about the Lizards. Still our only undefeated team, over 100 points. But I really want to talk about the K-Wheels and the Killers here for a second, because you both kind of had plans at quarterback, smart, big plans involving both who you kept and who you went out and drafted. I think you guys both went out and got the guys you wanted. And those plans seem to be working. Tom Brady for the K-Wheels has been a great starter. Exactly what you needed on a championship caliber team, at running back and receiver. You added Justin Fields. You added Trey Lance, 2 rookie quarterbacks relatively early in the draft to claim the guys you wanted in hopes that one of them this year develops into your long-term starter. And you've now got both of those rookies getting their starting opportunity in the NFL this week. Fields has already had a couple, but Fields now will be the long-term starter in Chicago, it sounds like. Trey Lance got a little bit of an opportunity last week, and I think is going to start at least one more game.
He just got named the starter.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
They're both starting this week.
Good.
Yep.
You got to be thrilled. And if nothing else, you at least are going to get an opportunity to see what these guys can do.
That's my hope. Obviously, the Deshaun Watson situation was a blow to the K Wheels. Scrambled, worked with Birdo in a very friendly interdivision way. And I think he's happy to have Burrow and the long-term stability there. I'm thrilled to have Brady and somebody I can use right now. And yes, I'm blindly hoping, blatantly hoping that Fields or Lance become someone that I can keep going into next year and feel really good about it. And it's awesome that they're both playing as of week 4 when that was definitely in question as a draft day. So yes, I'm thrilled my quarterback strategy is playing out. So thank you. Yes. We'll see. I'd love to see Fields be the guy that does it just because I feel like he's got much more upside if he can really get things going. But I'm worried about Chicago. I don't know how good they're going to be.
Yeah, they need it. Yeah. They need some more weapons there, but I think it'd be good.
Yeah.
The problem in Chicago now is David Montgomery injured. He was probably the best player on that offense, and he's out for at least 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Matt Nagy as the coach may just not be the right guy to get the most out of Fields.
Yeah.
The concern about Fields throughout the preseason, and the reason Nagy, whether you trust him or not, kept saying Dalton's going to be our guy, is that for all the splash plays Fields had, the concern was he just wasn't quite ready to lead a huddle, lead an offense.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of shown that already. I'm not sure he's going to end up displaying what you want to see out of him this year.
I think Nagy, he got so much shit for that, but man, people needed to chill out about that. Andy Dalton doesn't suck.
Correct.
No.
And I thought like that whole thing was just weird. Like that he kept having to say that Dalton is the starter when, they know that the plan is this guy is the future.
Yeah.
But like this happens all the time. Dalton is starting until something happens and he's not. And I just thought that whole thing was ridiculous.
They made it a much bigger deal than it needed to be.
It was just talking heads and pundits being asses. That's it.
No, I think Nagy did it though. This is my problem. Is that
you think Nagy really fueled the fire?
Yes, I think by him even saying that, you don't have to say that. We all know that already. Yeah. Andy Dalton's your guy. We're working with Justin Fields. As soon as he's ready to do it, yes, he's in the mix. But we're going to start with Andy, and he's going to be our guy, for now.
Yeah. So he was wishy-washy about what he was saying versus being very clear like you just were.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he is a big part of it, And then in terms of Fields' first outing, I think it was negligent in the game plan that he had for him, and didn't, not playing to his strengths at all about moving the pocket and having the right kinds of protections to help him as a rookie quarterback. Regardless, I think he's.
And hey, I don't have a strong feeling either way, but I would just remind, as much as you love Fields and he was the guy you picked first, Trey Lance went number 3 overall in the NFL draft. Mm-hmm. Trey Lance is the guy who's got a great offensive head coach, a proven great offensive head coach in Kyle Shanahan, who's got, I think, some better younger weapons there.
He might.
And who, in his first real outing last week, at least scored a lot of fantasy points.
Yeah, not bad. Say, and he may become the guy too. Hey, you're right. He has as much upside as Fields. I'm glad to have them both, and I hope one of them, both of them, become guys that people want to keep.
Exactly.
That's your plan. Well,
could be open to trading one of them as we get in the beginning of next year.
And so at the risk of going on for 19 minutes about Birdo's quarterbacks once again, we beat up the Killers a little bit last week for keeping Burrow, trading away Brady. But Burrow, week by week is looking better. Jalen Hurts, the guy that the Killers went out and drafted, a guy who I think there was probably mixed feelings on among TFFL owners, but who at least for this year, was a high upside quarterback who was going to be the starter in Philly all year long. Who's as bad as Philly might be, is going to be throwing from behind. Who's going to be running the ball himself. Scored 24 points. He's your starter. Scored 24 points last week. You got 2 young guys who are scoring points at that position now. Yeah. You two are 3-1, and got to be feeling good about your plan there.
Yeah, no, I'm happy, and I was when Burrow put up points Thursday, I'm like, oh no. And he put up 20. I'm like, oh fuck. However, I made the right call. Hurts scored 4 more points. Great. I'm okay with the platoon thing. It's gonna maybe come back to burn me here and there, but
I hope so.
I kind of look at it like the whole 2 quarterbacks thing. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's an NFL thing. That's not a fantasy thing. It's like I want 6 great running backs and have to make a decision every week of the 3 best.
Sure.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So
I agree with that.
So I'm going to platoon them. And when they're playing shitty teams or, this week is a little bit of a weird, I'm still kind of up in the air for this week, but there are going to be weeks where one of those guys is going to have a much better matchup. And that's going to be the guy who plays until one of them really stands out because they're kind of about the same spot right now. They're both putting up points and, that's a good thing. I'll take that.
Yeah, like any other position, it's when you're in that situation, you don't have the starter every week for your QB, and you're playing in that role. It can be tough. You're going to end up with weeks like that. Mm-hmm. I tried to do it with Cam and what's his name on Cleveland.
Well, you had Mayfield and Prescott.
Mayfield, a little bit Mayfield, Prescott. Prescott started to own that though, but Cam as well.
Yeah.
Cam was where it was a little tougher because it was in and out with him after having a great season, right? Sometimes you think you have the guy, and all of a sudden he's not the guy anymore.
You got another guy.
Well, then and then you luck out and you find a guy.
Yeah. The ideal situation is one of them becomes a guy I can't not start, right?
Right.
Exactly.
That's how I want it to go. But until that happens, it'll work.
Yep.
Yep.
It's nice to have 2 good options that if you throw them in, they're going to start and they have probably a good opportunity. So it's a good decision to have to make when you have 2 good ones.
Yep. So again, well executed with both of your case studies here. Rich off to a great start, over 100 points last week. Nice job, fellow panelists.
Yeah, I'm really excited about last week.
Yeah,
my team surprised me last week.
Well, you got I was just
big number.
Yeah, big.
That was fueled. I don't mean to diminish 101 points, but you got 26 out of your favorite team, your Buffalo kicker and your Buffalo defense.
Yes, absolutely insane.
Yeah, nice job. But just I think there was actually in the case of the K-Wills and the Killers, the reason I bring it up, you guys had a plan at the quarterback position. You executed that plan, and it is working out very well for both of you. Let's now shift a little more somber. We're going to talk about our defending champion, Steel City Mongols, 0-4 to start the season. I bring this up with the caveat that we beat up on the Mongols a fair amount after the 2020 TFFL draft, and they went on, of course, to win the Pac Bowl last year. But I guess my big question here, I can get to this very quickly, is when the Mongols won the Pac Bowl, was that the start of the Mongols arriving and being able to sustain a playoff level team? Good for the Mongols. They finally broken through. Or was that unfortunately a mirage, a team that, if I recall correctly, got into the playoffs in week 13, in a do or die scenario with the Devils, I think. And got hot at the right time. It happens to a lot of TFFL champions over the years. Good for the Mongols. But the evidence at 0-4 points to a team that maybe has not quite arrived yet as a year in, year out playoff contender. Is Josh Allen, again, we're talking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably the one most guilty of ripping into the Mongols after their draft last year. And I can stand by that because them winning the Pac Bowl was about their keepers really over-delivering. Some good moves they made during the offseason, but their draft class last year wasn't, I think, the top reason they won that Pac Bowl. I think Josh Allen was the key to, huge part of their run last year, and he's been good, and I think he'll continue to be good. But the Mongols have got injury problems now. With Logan Thomas is now on IR.
Yep.
AJ Brown is out for I don't know how
Yep.
long, right? So
Logan
they've got some issues, and I think they got the best out of what they had last year. I'm not sure that they can count on getting the best out of this bunch all the time.
I would say this: as much as they over delivered towards the end of last year, because that probably is true. I think they were maybe not as good as they got it together. They got hot at the right time. However, they over delivered last year. This year, everyone is underperforming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, AJ Brown has been banged up. Woods isn't doing anything.
Drake.
I think he's had some unfortunate injuries at the wrong time. That's really hit his team's weekly scoring output. Bottom line, he's already had to really dig in to try and find people to fill some positions, and that might say something about the depth in the draft. But it also says about some misfortune here.
But also going in with Dobbins as a keeper is a killer. Like that really is a
that was a big
big blow. Yeah.
Yep.
You're going into like you're already behind the 8 ball, and that was a huge one.
Yeah, it was.
No, I think that's a good point. I remember at the draft talking to Bobby a little bit after the draft, and I think he had asked me, what would Terry think of this, and my response was I didn't see a single pick on the Mongols draft board that Terry or anybody should look at and go, that's a bad pick.
Right.
But I think the Mongols, perhaps because of the Dobbins injury, perhaps because of the fact that they were in the number 12 spot, they kind of delivered the same kind of draft they did in 2020, which was, okay, these guys, they can start if you need them to start.
I hope you don't have to.
And obviously, we're all looking for studs, and there aren't studs sitting around for the taking, even at number 12 in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't see a lot of high upside picks here. And again, maybe they felt compelled to get some guys who can play and fill roles with Dobbins being out and just needing guys who could play.
Yeah, but this is definitely a different team if you put J.K. Dobbins and A.J. Brown in that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
The whole complexion of the team almost changes there relative to what they could be, because
but Dobbins is out. I mean, he's not coming back.
That's what I mean. But I mean, when you said big blow, it doesn't get much bigger than that. If you had him pounding the rock for the last 4 weeks, this is a different team and a different score for them.
Sure,
that is the biggest impact for the Mongols, unfortunately. But if going 0-4 now, they're definitely one of those teams that got to be on the edge of being, starting to consider how he collects, good draft picks to bolster his team, and hopefully these guys come back healthy and strong. He might be close to that.
And real quick, in the Mongols' defense, there is a good, young, strong core there in Josh Allen. If Dobbins does come back, and he's young and a strong running back, I think he'll. That's an ACL. He'll come back from that. A.J. Brown is a top receiver. There's a good core there.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
They've also got good down the line trading assets in Robert Woods and Emmanuel Sanders and got Allen Robinson, perhaps guys that
those are trading. Blocks.
But those are the kind of guys that people get
at some point. You might
into week 10 or week 9.
No, and that's part of that's part of the Mongols' issue is guys like Allen Robinson's value. Kenyon Drake is kind of worthless right now. They just haven't panned out as solid veterans this year in the situations they're in.
Things change fast.
Yeah,
they do.
So
and yet I'm only a 1-point favorite this week.
Oh yeah.
I can't wait to get Michael Gallup back.
Logan Thomas, he's got him on IR now. I mean, they've got a bunch of injuries.
Well, Rich, I think touched on this. It's not just Logan Thomas; it's Gerald Everett. They're both of their tight ends, who are your versatile pieces who you can swap in and out for a third running back or a third receiver during these bye weeks. They don't have either one of those guys now.
Nope.
So I think they're in a little bit of trouble here. Obviously, an 0-4 record doesn't help.
Was either one of those serious, or was it, you don't know?
Yeah, Logan Thomas is out until week 8.
Yep.
Everett was a COVID issue.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
We can't have any Josh Allen to Emmanuel Sanders TDs.
There you go.
That would be bad.
I hope we get lots of those, my
We
friend.
need to light them up. Let's go, Josh
Light
Allen.
them up. I want to see Josh Allen all day long.
I agree.
No,
All right, so
not
let's
bad.
let's close our roundtable chat with a fun non-TFFL conversation.
Okay. Interesting.
It is, and so Berto, you were a little bit late tonight because you were coaching soccer.
Yes.
Hank, I know, is coaching football, flag football.
I am coaching flag football. Yes.
Nice.
All right. And so I want you to be honest with us. Do you guys really know what the fuck you're doing? And and what specifically do you bring to the table as a soccer coach, Berto? What are you implementing? What are you drilling them on? And Hank, I already asked if you're running the wishbone or something crazy or wacky, and I want to hear what specific systems you're implementing on offense or defense or whatever you guys are coaching.
So I'll say this. Soccer, I've coached soccer for a number of years, but I've always been assistant coach in soccer. Now it's travel. I didn't play soccer growing up. I always played baseball during soccer season. So I've been learning the game. Jack is now 14. I've been learning it basically. I've coached every single one of his teams except for the first year of travel. So I I yell when I need to. I cheer kids up when I need to. There's I've been learning because the guy I've been coaching with the last few years, played college soccer. So that's soccer. But I'm okay. I hold my own.
Do you focus on
basketball? I've been head coaching for years.
Yeah.
For 7 years, I've head coached basketball. That I think I bring more to the table because again, I played basketball. I know the game better than I know soccer. Do a 2-3 zone. We got crazy stuff going on. We got to the championship game a couple times. Basketball, I think I add more to it than soccer for sure in terms of a tactical and strategic level. But soccer, I don't know. I show up, I'm there, I'm organized. I'll yell and scream if I need to and do whatever it takes, but I'm not the head coach. So it's more of a support versus basketball being the head coach.
Got it.
I'll be brief. This is my first year doing it. I'm actually the assistant coach to another guy. However, he's been gone for the first 3 weeks of the season because he's on overseas travel. I think he's back this week, so for our 4th game.
What's your record as interim coach?
We're 1-2. We won 1. We lost 2. Basically, it comes down to this at flag football. Stick asked about offensive and strategies and whatnot. There's the rules are very janky. Like the quarterback cannot directly run with the ball. He has to hand it off to somebody else, or there has to be a forward pass, and then you can lateral and these kind of things. But the idea of pitching and handing off the ball is dicey, and even the kids who are fairly coordinated, it's still at 11 and 12. These are 11 and 12-year-olds. They're not quite fluid athletes yet. So we've got a couple of kids who are pretty good, and we try and send the plays their way. But it's 5-on-5 basically, so it's not a huge number of people on the field at the same time. But some of the other teams, the team we played last week, they were good. They had the system that they were, they were doing a lot of laterals and pitches and just confusing the hell out of our guys. And so I'm trying to preach this, stay at home defense of, you are in charge of that side. Don't go running after the guy who's running the other way.
Yes.
Right. And it somewhat settles in, but yeah, it's a challenge.
That is if there's one sentence that summarizes youth sports and the progression as you get older, it's don't chase the ball all over the place.
Oh God.
It's like that soccer scrum as the kids are young. Yep. Tonight we're at practice and we're passing the ball all over. It's all about spacing, right?
Yes, exactly.
And that's the big thing. And basketball, the same thing. It's all about spacing. This kid has the ball. Don't run over to that kid and try to grab the ball. I constantly.
I've literally had that conversation. Move
away from the ball. Like,
it'll come to you.
Yeah. And they don't really quite get that. Kids really don't get that until they're about 11.
No,
or 12.
It's that, but coupled with, I want to play quarterback. No, I don't want to play quarterback anymore. Can I play wide receiver? No, why do I always get the ball?
No.
It's like, Jesus Christ, play the freaking position. We'll move you around. Shut up.
Did you design any plays over the last 3 weeks?
I did. I've designed a number of plays.
Nice.
You know, but a lot of it is go out, get open. You know, you talk to your two guys who are really going to be the ones that are get the ball thrown to, and you're like, do a post, shake your guy, 5 steps out, cut it across. You slant across the middle and take at least one of these guys with you when you go.
Nice.
And
Nice.
you know, and then the other guys, run around and don't get in their way.
So it sounds like you have an up-tempo downfield offense.
We're trying
Pro style.
I've got one guy who can throw fairly well. The guy who my head coach drafted number 1 overall. We had the first overall pick, and there was a draft. I was not involved in the draft.
Wow.
They had like a
drafted the teams.
Yeah,
this whole thing is crazy.
Wow.
So everybody goes. They do it. They have a day of tryouts. They get timed in the 40. They do these agility drills. All this stuff.
And everybody has like a list in front of them with their stats and their info.
And then we all have a list, and it's your own scouting
like
report.
this.
I wasn't even there, so I have no scouting reports from anyone. Apparently, well, I know because I was at the draft. The first thing they did is they identified I think there's 8 teams in the league. So they identified the top 16 players and made sure that those 16 players were evenly distributed amongst the teams.
Ah, very good.
Everybody got, you know.
That's a great way to do it because it gets cutthroat.
Oh,
1 year I had the 14th pick out of 14 teams. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fucking disaster. And it was, but
yeah. We were 1, and the kid we took number 1, who's big kid, athletic, you know, he can't throw the football for shit. And my head coach said, he should be the quarterback. I'm like, dude, wait until you see how inaccurate this guy is. He's a great athlete. Let's figure out how to get him the ball.
Right.
He's not our quarterback. So I'm trying to explain to this as he's sending me emails from somewhere in the Middle East.
So wait, I have a question. Does it mean if you do the draft, does your own child end up on your team?
Yes.
You're a coach?
Yes.
So
that was the other thing we did. So we identified the top 16 players. And the second thing we did is we slotted everybody's kid as to what round you think your kid is. And the other coaches could overrule. You can say, I think my kid's a 4th round pick. No, your kid's a 3rd. You know, and they were very fair about it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes. So it was good. It was, so we we have a good team, but I'm learning how to be a coach of this thing, and it's
fun.
It's something.
So much fun. And so much of it is like the team snap and scheduling and it's never ending, but
yeah.
I'm out of coaching now, but I coached for about 11 years between Julie and Andrew. Andrew mostly, it was all soccer. Yeah. And I did travel. I played soccer growing up my whole life, right through high school. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And when you it sucks when you have a sucky team and you're literally just trying to like keep them from like walking in circles and giving up. Especially sucks when there's a group of kids who are good and they know who sucks on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, oh my God, can't
brutally
get rid of that dude. And
Jimmy's got the ball again.
Like, do we have to play him?
Yes, we do.
And when they get to that age where it's gets more competitive, it's awesome when you have a great team and they understand spacing and they do get there and they're awesome. Yeah. And you have a few studs on the team that just are going to kill it, and a solid goalie. You're just like, all right, we're going to own this, and it gets a lot of fun. But
and the kids who are ball hogs, benching them and there's
holding your moral ground. There's a lot of times you got to hold your moral ground.
You got
a little Belichick.
You got a yellow card. You're not playing the next game. That's one of the rules that we have. Like, it's sometimes the best kids aren't playing the whole time because they.
That's rather harsh, Berto. Yellow cards can be handed out fairly arbitrarily.
Yeah,
I think that's harsh.
Don't push the limits
for a game. If you get a yellow card,
if you're not
when he dropped an F-bomb.
That's different.
Kid against the
But I think
after the game. Then
you can have a yellow card for a hard tackle that was a good play.
Berto, if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late.
Oh my God, that drives me crazy. Or our travel team, you have to show up 45 minutes early. And one of the best kids in the team perpetually late. And I'm like, he's got to sit. It's just
it's not
painful.
His fault. It's his parents'
so painful.
fault.
We had one of
those.
those.
What though? But they're at the age now, and this is one thing I say to them, that you have to push your parents. Everyone's got all these kids have cell phones now. Seriously. You have to be like, Dad's
on the conference call. You have to let me finish. Shut the fuck up. If you're going to be 10 minutes late, I'm sorry.
I'm going to be late. I'm going to be late for the practice or late for the game. We've got to go now. And they've got to push that. Or, forgetting your shin guards, or, sometimes it's an accident. But when it's the same kids over and over again, you got to deliver a message.
Yeah.
And they
I agree with
they need to be accountable.
Yes.
All right. This has been a very worthwhile segment. Thank you.
Yes.
We'll talk more about basketball later on in the winter. All right. Let's start to wrap up. We'll see if we
What about trivia?
Are we not going to do a trivia question?
I have in my hand our stack of trivia envelopes.
Right.
We're gonna do a trivia question. We'll buy ourselves enough time to consider the trivia question while Rich walks us through the schedule for week 5, and then we'll come back and I'll open up the answers. So. Pick a number from 1 to 6. Hank.
4. Oh, sorry.
I heard 4. I'll take 4. Sorry, Hank. You don't get to pick.
That's okay.
How is it that there's 4 and 4? Okay. Question number 4 from Chief. Once again, thank you, Chief, for a whole collection of trivia questions. Okay.
Wow. A lot on that index card. Okay.
All right.
Very easy this week, Chief says. ... Or maybe not. The Webcast crew has oftentimes made reference to, quote unquote, a bad keeper. Let's look at bad keepers from this perspective. Of the 2021 keepers that played at least 11 games in 2020, who scored the fewest points?
Ooh.
For 3 points, you've got a multiple choice possibility here.
Oh.
So who among the 2021 keepers heading into the season that played at least 11 games last year? So we're discarding, I don't know who he's thinking of, but
Saquon Barkley.
There you Saquon Barkley, good example. All right. So you got 4 choices here. Who scored the fewest in 2020? Mark Andrews, tight end Mark Andrews for the Aliens. TJ Hawkinson, tight end for keeper for the Hormel Hams. C is wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins for the Senators. D, wide receiver Allen Robinson for the Steel City Mongols. Who scored the fewest points in 2020 among that group?
In 2020, of those 4.
Yeah. This feels like an anti-aliens question, but we'll see. All right, so I need the answer envelope for 4 unopened at the moment. Hold on to that. We'll come back to that.
I'm ready when you are.
Well, why don't you take us through the week 5 schedule and see if we've got a good game of the week we can talk about.
All right, let's see what we got. I'm just going to list them out. I'm not going to quite name the game of the week with you. We'll pick it together. Ready? All right, we got the undefeated Lizards going up against the Hams that are 2-2. We have the Beavers going to the Packers of Amsterdam. 2-2 Beavers going up against the 3-1 Packers from Amsterdam. And then we have the 2-2 Boba Fats. Look at the our Northern Conference stepping back up, coming back. That's 2 in a row for Fats.
Mm-hmm.
Fats climbs back to 2-2, going up against the Senators of 1-3. Can the Senators pull out a win? Are the Fats going to have the highest score of the week? We will see. Maybe the Senators will have the second highest score of the week. Anyone's game. We'll see. Mongols. Oh, Mongols. 0-4 Mongols coming up against Jack's Giant Killers. What do you say there, Jack?
The com.com has it closer than I'd like right now.
62-51 by 61-1. Woo! That's tight.
You got Josh Allen, playing against Kansas City. Presumably he's going to have to throw an awful lot there.
Yeah. He's going to have to make a decision on Chase Edmonds. I don't know what's going on there, but everything else looks all right. And then is Carson all right?
I think
Chris Carson's a game time decision.
He's going to be fine.
And Swift?
He's going to be fine. He's been
always
injury report every week. He's playing.
All right. And then we got the Aliens 2-2 again. Big 2-2. Nice win last week.
Yep.
Going up against the Sponge Fishermen 1-1. Sponge also have had maybe a little bit of misfortune coming into how games have gone for them. 66 2 weeks in a row. You notice that? They got 66 2 weeks in a row. Not only did they tie with it, but then they lost with it. Maybe they'll win with it this week against the Aliens, or maybe not. We will see.
Good handcuff.
And then finally,
good handcuff for the Sponge there with Harris.
I was going to bring that up earlier.
I'm not Harris, Williams. I mean
Williams. They have Williams. And then bringing it home, we have the K-Wheels, heavily favored 3-1 K-Wheels up against the Dirt Devils of 1-3. There you go. That wraps it up. If I'm looking at a game of the week, maybe it's maybe it's the. Ooh. Can
I nominate one for you?
Yeah, go for it.
I agree. I think you look at them and there's not like two, superstar teams facing off this week, but I like the Lizards and the Hormel Hams. Aliens just beat the Hams. I get to bring that up, but they, it was another case where Mahomes goes and has a monster day, 34 points, and the rest of his lineup just didn't show up. But again, Mahomes is playing Buffalo this week. You got to figure he's going to have another big game. He's got CeeDee Lamb to hopefully offset Dak Prescott for you. Mike Williams coming off a down week, should be looking to bounce back. If he gets points out of the rest of his lineup, adding to what Mahomes can bring, that's a good, strong team. And obviously so are the Lizards. That should be a good game.
It very well could be. And I certainly welcome the nomination from that standpoint as our game of the week. I mean, it's undefeated, so it's interesting to try and have somebody come knock us off, right? Makes for a good game of the week that way. Certainly, we don't have a layup in terms of matchups this week. But I will say, I think you may be given, this isn't just a Buffalo homer, but 2 weeks in a row of shutouts is not easy against anyone.
Yeah.
That defense is top of the league right now. And I actually think Mahomes coming in with 2 losses has more to prove than the Bills do in beating him. So I'm not necessarily saying just giving it away that he's going to put up a light up game.
You had a great point until you went too far, Rich.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Holmes has to prove nothing to the Bills.
Oh.
He's got rings on his fingers. The Bills do not.
I'm not saying he has to prove anything. Kansas City as a whole.
Yeah,
being
your point,
2 losses
your point was right there. The Bills have looked awesome. Their defense has been dominant. Patrick Mahomes needs to show that he and Tyreek Hill can do against them what they've done.
Right. What he's done. Fair enough. I took my analysis maybe a little too much.
I got to reel you back in on
That's
that.
fair. You will me back, though. That's fair. So actually, ironically, I was going to look at the Alien Sponge or actually the Killers and Mongols. Even though the Mongols, what's interesting here, they're trying to get their first win.
They gotta win.
And as Berto pointed out, it is pretty close in terms of current state. So we'll see what happens.
Same with the Senators. The Senators got to win too.
Yeah, there you go. We'll run with the Lizards, Hams, and we'll see how it plays out. Interesting week ahead. Week 4. Here we go, baby.
All right. Let's open up a trivia answer and we can wrap up. We're probably going to just come in over an hour here.
All right.
I've got Hawkinson.
Me and Berto are Andrews.
All right. It's one of the tight ends. Let's see.
Let's see. It's probably going to be DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes. I don't think it's him. Unless he didn't play enough games, and that was part of the 11 thing.
No, it was 11, though. It has to be played 11 games. I almost did it. Yeah.
I almost did too. It must have been because he only played 11 games total, and he was short.
Did he just not score a lot of touchdowns last
That's
year?
fascinating. None of us get it right. And he said it was easy.
No, I thought about Hopkins for a while.
I thought about it for a split second, but then I was like, it's got to be a tight end.
He was injured, but
he played. That's why I ruled. I was like, but he played 11 games. That means
right. He must have only played 11 games.
All right, good question.
I would like the actual numbers on this.
Yeah, what's interesting is even in 11 games, I would have suspected Hopkins to have scored more points than those guys in 11 games. And that's what makes it such a great question that he asked.
No,
brilliant, Chief. Thank you.
And as a Mark Andrews owner, I know he had a good year last year, but it was a little disappointing actually in some respects. It was not great.
That's where I was going. And plus, Hopkins was on the Sens had a good year. I'm like, he must have scored because I did think that there could be a little trick there. But I'm like, I think he put up some points. But
I sensed it, but didn't go with it.
Chief, thank you once again for the trivia questions. We've still got, I think, another 5 or 6 of them to go here.
Great.
All right. Wrapping up, heading into week 5. Kicks off tomorrow night. Who is our
game? Rams Seahawks.
Oh,
Rams,
great.
Great game.
We got a good Thursday night game. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So good luck to everybody. As I said, this is we're going to start seeing some separation here soon enough. We're going to see teams having to make some moves, not just to be competitive, but to actually fill lineup spots, I think, in the weeks ahead. So a lot of activity ahead. And, good luck to everybody. We'll be back here next week talking about week 5 and looking ahead already to week 6 TFFL action. Take care.
Good night, boys.
Everyone, good night.